Oh, hey, kitty baby. Hey, kitty girl.
Oh, Katie girl loves her some Benjamin, doesn't she?
Yep.
Katie gets a little zoomy in the evening, doesn't she? Oh. What's up, guys? We're gonna go on a little ride. You coming, Ben?
Yeah, but I just gotta get Katie in the back.
You coming?
I'm holding her.
To get Katie in the car or in the side by side, and what'd she do?
Jumped out.
Jumped out. All right, buckle up. We are going to go find Maya first.
I know where he is.
Oh, he's standing in the yard right there. Why don't you scoot over here to the middle and let Daddy get there in the side. Hey, good looking. You looking for a ride?
You can pick me up in your Ranger any day. This might be a first for me. Hey!
Here's my nice pile of soil.
Yeah, it's a nice pile of soil. It's handsome.
Do y'all want the view? The ride on the side by side? Look at these goofs. They don't want to ride in it because they like to run next to it.
Little dog.
So I figured we would come up here and do a couple little updates on, like, I keep getting asked about the willow tree and a couple other things, and I figured we would just kind of catch up. Hello, pigs. Hello, pigs. So you can see them, there are some feathers here on the grass. We have had an issue the last couple weeks where we have had some dogs that have been coming, and unfortunately it's cost us somewhere around 12 birds, I would say, between ducks and chickens. And that's what that is. We have discussed it with the owner of the dogs, and we went ahead and put all of our ducks into the small pond. So we still have the 4 cayugas, the mallard that we brought, one of our white ducks, and the geese. And the wild mallard that was here when we came here, he's still on the pond. He's wild, so he can fly. We actually did move him over here and he went back. So that stinks. But things like that coming up and having to be dealt with is just part of having a farm. I mean, like, you're just gonna run into stuff like that and protecting livestock and all of that. So as of right now, we're not gonna be putting any of our animals on this pond, of our birds. Now, our chickens are free ranging in with Gabriel, so they're fine. We've had a few that have gotten out, and right now we have had to do some repairs to our chickshaw, but we're going to like get our chickens in their normal rotation of being moved in an electric fence, which should protect them. Now here is a little update on our willow. You want to come stand and say ta-da?
Ta-da!
Looks good. Maya, you want to stand next to it so for measurement? Since you're one dad tall, plus a couple inches.
I think your dad's taller than me.
But you're his dad, so technically you are also one dad tall.
Yeah, Ben probably should learn how to measure things with inches. I
know what you're about to say.
I saw a meme that says Americans will measure with anything except the metric system.
And it was a news store.
It was a news store, and it's like, it was about 4 washing
machines wide.
Yeah.
The sinkhole. I got tagged in that like 6 times. They're like, how many dads do you think that is?
How big do you think the trunk will get? Okay.
Oh.
And then it's going to get bigger. And then what's going to happen? These are going to turn into branches.
Yeah, now they're going to turn branches, and then it's going to...
And then the vines will come from where? From the tip.
Nice.
And that'll provide what?
Willow?
Shade.
Shade, remember?
Yeah, it'll provide shade.
So we have the tag here, Ben, that actually tells us, which it's still stretchy, and I've still got it on here. But this is a full-sized willow. So the mature height of this is about 75 feet high. Oh, you scraped your knee.
Yeah.
I would say, how much would you say that this has grown since we put it in?
It's only gotten a little bit taller, but it's definitely branched out.
It's probably like 20 inches taller.
Yeah.
I would say, but yeah, the branches.
There's lots of branches added, and it's healthy.
Yeah, it looks good. So one of the things that we are going to be doing in the future is we have to finish the fence along the property line on the front of the road. Right now we have the fence done where we have animals, but we haven't finished fully fencing our property. And hopefully we'll be able to get that done soonish. The thing is, when you're building a place like this from scratch, the list, it's 5 miles long. And figuring out what you're gonna do is just this dance of priorities. The time of year has to do with it, the cost of materials has to do with it, and at the end of the day, you only have so much time. So, I mean, we've just had to say, like in the case with this, well, it would be nice if we had that fence up because we could keep our livestock more protected, but since we don't, we'll just move them into a place we do have a fence. You know, I have not spent quite as much time up here as I thought that I would. I guess it's just been such a crazy busy time. I've gone fishing a few times with the kids.
Yeah.
Hey, cool.
What are these?
The pigs will like those.
These are acorns.
Let's go put them with the piggies.
Sawtooth oak. Yeah. I bet the pigs would love it if you would take those to them. You know, you could put them in your shirt.
Or certain squirrels have been known to do crazy things to try and get one of those.
Haven't you seen the Ice Age movies? He didn't get our joke. I thought it was funny.
The pigs don't really answer to the pigs.
Pigs love acorns.
More, more.
You hear them crunching?
Hey, pigs. You want to come be in it? Well, I was just going to talk about, like, the ever-changing to-do list.
Okay.
You want to come be in it?
Yeah, I can also commit to shooting a video about the new pig houses. You strong? Bad decision. That's gross.
So I mentioned a couple weeks ago that really pretty high on the priority list was going to be figuring out like our farrowing space, because we did bring pregnant pigs here. Now, what we decided before we left Arkansas was that we knew we were going to not be breeding Mangalitsa's for a period of time because we already have a handful of them that are fed out and on hoof that we're going to be processing over the course of the next year or so. And we decided we would go ahead and breed one more time and just bring them pregnant. And that would be less to transport baby-wise. And so the last couple of months that we were in Arkansas, we put the 2 breeders we still have in with Gerard. One of our breeders went to our friends, the Vincents at VW Family Farm, and actually they also now have Gerard too.
Right.
We called them and said, do you want him? You know,
They picked him up after we left.
yeah. So we have to figure out a place for the pigs to farrow very soon. It's very high on the mile-long list. We came out here and showed you guys doing some marking off of some things. And I will tell you, you actually often influence how we end up doing things here on our farm, like when we're laying things out. Like a lot of times we will bring you guys along and make a video of our thought process and what we're looking at, because sometimes we'll get feedback that we're like, oh, we hadn't really thought about that. That's a really good point. I have a real big leg up as far as planning a farm, because we get a lot of input from people who have different experiences, who've lived in different places. And a lot of times people will say things that like they don't have all the information. So not every bit of feedback is necessarily going to change things, but
There are times that
we change things.
we change things.
Because we learn from you guys. So it's awesome. I'm thankful for that. I don't think we would be as successful in what we're doing if we didn't have such an incredible hive mind to tap into. And after sharing with you guys what we were thinking, you made 2 points that we took into consideration that we thought were very good points, and we changed our plans. So we're starting the high tunnels past this pig yard, far enough that you can drive past but down to this gate. So one of the things that we had talked about doing originally was kind of putting these up near to the road or the drive. we kind of, like, you heard us in that video, I had said something about, well, I don't know, what if a delivery driver hit it? I was kind of a little on the fence on that, but then we did get some feedback and people talked about road dust and making some space to pull in the side-by-side, potentially put a washing station. And so we decided that we're going to push the high tunnels back several feet off the road. I don't know exactly what it's gonna be. We're gonna figure it out soon. Now, with the high tunnels we are putting up, they have roll-up doors. Now on our old high tunnel, we just did the walk door because we did raised beds inside that tunnel, so we knew we were never gonna be putting a tractor in there or anything like that, a side-by-side or a four-wheeler with a load of compost or whatever. It was always gonna be done individual by hand without equipment. But here we're not planning on doing raised beds in these high tunnels because we have great topsoil. So we did roll-up doors. So one consideration we have to have is there's 20 extra feet here. This is an 80-foot stretch. The high tunnel is 60 feet long. So we have to have enough space on the front and the back to be able to pull out of because we have roll-up doors on both sides. So we're still nailing down some of those things about exactly what it's gonna be, and we've got to figure it out before Jeremiah starts his pig project. The other thing we were doing is when we were just kind of like figuring this out the other day and marking this off, we had put just 4 feet in between these high tunnels. Had several people point out, for the sake of ventilation, that it would be better to have more space in between them.
So we're gonna do what, 12?
So we're gonna do 12 feet in between the high tunnels. And yes, we are planning on exploring multiple different rain catchment options and areas here on the high tunnels as well as on our barn. That is on our list of things to consider because yes, a high tunnel is a really large roof and it is able to catch rain. So Maya, will you tell us your plan for our pig farrowing for this year?
Well, after we make the adjustments on spacing, we figure out how far off the road we're gonna go, I'm gonna build 2 farrowing spots that are the exact size of the high tunnels. And then I'm gonna build almost like a mobile pig housing. So
on skids.
On skids that I'll be able to just move with the tractor. So when we're not farrowing, I'll probably put them in here and just let them be general housing. And then when we farrow, I'll have, you know, probably 3. They're gonna be like 4 foot deep and 10 foot wide. And I'm not going to build them as tall because I want them to actually hold more heat. So I don't want the heat to go up. So they're going to be tall enough that we can get in if we need to for piglets or helping like we've had to do before, but shorter than they were, and then also fully sided. So that way, if it does get cold, we can keep the heat in easier, I've learned. And then the skids, so that way everything on this farm is going to be with the agenda of staying mobile for regenerative purposes. So there's not really going to be a lot of static places. The big barns and stuff obviously will be static, but we're not trying to build pasture inside the barns. So these pig houses will be able to go anywhere we need them to go. And then when we're done and ready to build the greenhouses, I will literally just build them on top of the spot that the pigs have prepped. I'll probably do something. I've got lots of access right now to wood chips, so I'll probably be doing that in this area to help build up future soil.
Yep. So here I am sitting on this fat stack of hog panels, which is going to be the fencing for these areas. Now, I want to talk really briefly about using spaces that were prepped by animals. So Maya mentioned putting the pigs in here. So we're going to put our sows in here and allow them to farrow, and they will have their piglets with them. How long is it, Maya? 8 weeks? Weaning? Or we usually do 12. We usually let our mamas stay with the babies longer than the minimum because I've just found that anything with the goats, with the piglets, anything that is drinking milk from its mom, if you let them wean them themselves for the most part, you just get stronger offspring. So the piglets will stay with their mamas until they're weaned, which if they're farrowed in the next few months, they'll probably be weaning sometime in the month of January would be my guess. And at that point, we'll be moving forward with whatever we're going to do with excess piglets, whether we're going to sell them or figuring out what we're going to keep. I don't know. we're not gonna count our piglets before they're born. But they won't be in these areas that whole time. They're not gonna stay in here until January. Basically, our goal with going ahead and setting up these spaces is, yes, the mamas are gonna prepare the ground some for the high tunnels. That's good. They'll help kill this grass off. For as long as we leave their piglets in here with them and their piglets in here, they'll kill the grass off, and they'll root it up and all of that stuff. But you don't want to plant spaces immediately after a pig has been on it. Now, I've done a lot of research on this, and this is what I have decided I'm comfortable with doing. And in all things, I encourage you to do the same thing. My take on spaces which have been prepped by animals like pigs, I will plant things in those areas 3 months after the animals have been living on those areas. At that point, I feel pretty good, especially when it's a big area like this, so it's not like really concentrated nitrogen, really concentrated hot manure. It's spread out over space. I feel pretty good about planting things 3 months. Now, usually the things I choose to plant, if I plant a pig prepared space 3 months after pigs have been in it, are things like maybe like a squash or melons. I would go do bean plants. I would do sunflowers. I would do things that I'm not going to be eating directly out of the soil. Now, from everything that I've read and what I've just applied here on our farm is, if I'm going to be eating directly out of the soil, I usually will wait 6 months after the animals have been living on that space to plant that as a garden space. So for instance, like lettuce greens, this is one of the areas that like I would be the most conservative. Something like lettuce greens, where you're gonna pick those directly, wash them off, and then eat them raw. It's gonna be different if you're cooking things, if you're slow cooking things. So it would be different for me thinking like lettuce greens versus something like collard greens, because if there are pathogens or anything like that, obviously there's a difference in eating them raw or cooked. But that's also why I primarily grow my lettuce greens by my house in potting soil or in a raised bed or in a green stalk or something like that, because I can most guarantee that it's clean in that situation. So for me, the rule is 3 months for stuff you're not eating directly out of the soil, and 6 months for things that you are eating directly out of the soil. And I think that may be conservative even. I've heard people get really like up in arms over this topic. So with that taken into consideration, we're putting these pigs on this space now, and we're hoping to build these high tunnels over the course of the winter. And I will be waiting roughly 3 months before I plant in this soil after the pigs are moved off. And that is a rough estimate, give or take. I will consider what it is I'm planting. For instance, if I were gonna put like some trees in, I've talked about growing some citrus in these, I probably wouldn't wait 3 months for that. But as far as like me eating it, that's really the concern. If you're growing something that's in hot manure, the concern is it being safe to eat. I did think Maya had a really good idea though, to set the pigs up in these exact spaces where we're going to be building the high tunnels. So with putting the pigs here, we won't be planting in our high tunnels until spring, which is fine because we really want to build this soil first. So we're going to be applying wood chips, using that to sequester carbon, and also allowing those pigs to work their magic and root around and eat up, hopefully, the root system of all this grass.
Ready, set, go.
It's getting dark. Where's he going? Is he racing to the house?
No, he's running around that garden bed, which he called that whole thing a garden bed.
That whole tarped area?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a garden bed.
Around the tractor and back. He wants to see how fast.
Mm.
And then Katie's his partner.
I think she's second guessing whether she really wants to be committed.
Like, I don't know what he's doing, but...
Oh no, she's cutting across the garden bed.
Come on. 39.53 seconds.
Ooh, fast. I was gonna go update on the goats, but we're pretty well out of light. I know that it doesn't look super dark right now. That's because my camera is making up for it. It's actually...
Yeah, it's getting pretty dark. The moon's out pretty good.
It'll probably be like very dark in the next probably 6 or 7 minutes. Hold on. Okay. There's a more accurate depiction of what we're sitting out here in. the camera is deceiving when it comes to these things. So obviously we're getting used to the days getting a little shorter. Of course we are further east too. That plays into it. The thing I've had a hard time adjusting to is like I can't quite gauge how long golden hour lasts.
Yeah, you're having to learn that.
I'm having to learn the light here at our new property.
Plus, where our house is and things are, the sun's coming a different direction.
Yeah, it comes from over
Like
here.
actually it rises now in front of our house and sets behind us, whereas before it came over the top of us.
Yep.
So it's different.
It's nice though.
Yeah, I mean, look at that sunset through those trees. You can't really see it in the camera, but...
It's lovely. Today I was on the front porch and Maya pulled up in the side-by-side and said, hey, you want to go dream with me? And I was like, why, yes, I do.
Have
Always.
you ever said no to that?
Never. But that's where we were out here kind of lining out some of these plans. And I'm really excited for it to come together and
Well,
show you
one
guys.
of the things that we're doing the reason why I asked her to come do that also is because I'm really trying to stay thinking ahead. So I'm not having to go back and fix things and change things, which I've talked about that in videos, like thinking ahead. And so we're about to put in all these garden spaces, greenhouses, things like that. And I was like, I really want to figure out irrigation. And so we talked about and came up with a plan on running water lines, spigots, how many, where to stop, and then we're going to put in valve boxes to be able to hook up our drip irrigation to shut off valves inside boxes that are already installed. And that way it can be very modular as far as what we need.
He was basically saying that now when these spaces are wide open and you can get equipment through here to run these things,
it'd be better.
It would be better, and then that takes away the risk of damage. So we have a couple more weeks until we take these tarps back, and I'm hoping to lay out a couple of planting things, and we'll be in the thick of it.
You know, like in that whole thing, I did not think ahead, and so now I'm going to have to figure out how to fix it, but there's actually not a front spigot on the house, and I did not put in a hydrant when I ran the water lines for the front garden and the front flower beds.
I've been pulling that hose around
so now
from the back.
I'm going to have to dig in and cut the line again, install a T.
I was just going to keep dragging my hose around.
No, I'm going to put in the spigot.
That's very sweet. Jeremiah likes to fix things the right way, and I am such an improviser that it doesn't even occur to me that like we
Plus
should
I have
dig the ground up.
stress from dragging hoses around on a farm.
We did that for a long time. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. I think we're pretty well in the dark. The bats are flying over the field.
What bats?
That's what those are.
Wait, those are bats?
See that right there? Yeah, that's a bat.
That's good. You know what bats eat?
What?
Mosquitoes.
Well, yeah.
Whoa.
We should put up those bat houses.
Yeah, we have bat houses.
I could put one on the side of the well house.
That'd be awesome. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We bless you. Until next time.